Hello and welcome to Digital Arts and Filmmaking News. I'm Casey.
And I'm Alex. Now here is the latest. In New York, on Rikers Island recently, was found an unconscious transgender woman who had been detained while in solitary confinement at the jail in June. She had been detained a $500 bail for prostitution and lowest level drug possession. While the exact cause of death hasn't been determined at the story's publication, an autopsy was later revealed it was due to complications with epilepsy.
Latest news has hit about our current vice presidency as Ethan Broeker has now become vice president-elect. You heard it here, folks. Tom Jensen has recently decided to relinquish his role as vice president to specifically Ethan Broeker. What does this mean for the TriTech class? Did Jensen pick a worthy cast? Will President Alexander Garnica be next to relinquish his presidency? Latest word on our new vice president-elect's actions, Ethan Broeker, has been that this position has gotten to his head. Words from anonymous students claiming that he has now been saying phrases as "I'm in charge" and "you don't get a say in what I do." Another word from an anonymous student has claimed that he has also been walking around with a smug face. As for now, we will keep you updated on the newest vice presidential actions and how it is affecting the TriTech class.
A 9-month-old child was injured after a car crash near the Blue Bridge in Kennewick Monday morning. 22-year-old Cassandra Welch was driving eastbound on SR 240 shortly after 1 a.m. Monday. Welch lost control of her car and struck a Jersey barrier, crossed all lanes, and hit a guardrail. Welch and a 9-month-old infant were both injured and taken to area hospitals. Both the infant and Welch were not properly strapped into the vehicle at the time of the crash. The child was in a car seat. However, that car seat was not properly secured in that vehicle. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Charges are pending against Welch, and we will return in a moment with more news.
Welcome back. In health news, there is a parent-child assistance program in Richland. It is a 3-year case management program that helps families become drug and alcohol-free to prevent alcohol babies. Some can even prescribe drugs like methadone, Suboxone, or Subutex. To enroll, you must be pregnant or 24 months postpartum. It is free and funded by the Healthcare Authority.
And now, for some lifestyle news about sleep. Surveys have found that more than a third of American adults are unable to get a good night's sleep, with millions having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. In the Nurses' Health study that followed 71,617 women for a decade, those who slept 8 hours a night had the lowest risk of developing heart disease. It's time to get your pillows ready to stay healthy.
Mr. President seems like a nice enough of a guy, a very honest and upstanding person. But what is he like outside of school, you may ask? Well, it actually turns out that he has been hiding a big secret, a very big and shiny secret. We found out through rigorous investigating that Mr. President is bald. Here's a picture we were able to get through various methods. Now my question to you is, if he hides his bald shiny head, what other mischievous things might he be hiding? Well, the answer is as a presidential figure, he is not allowed to do any advertisement to promote a product. So why is he also the face of Sprite? These offenses are bad enough, but probably the worst offense would be the president. Is an unhinged maniac seen in this picture of him pointing an unregistered firearm, along with these pictures of Mr. President with the eyes of someone who has something to hide. If you ask me, Mr. President should be tested to see if his test's positive for any illegal substances. Back to you, Chrome Dome. And we will return following these messages. You're watching Digital Arts and Filmmaking News. Please don't hurt me.
Hello everyone, right now we're looking at a picture of Hurricane Randy and where it's going to be affecting Texas first. Wait, it's not showing up okay, never mind. It's going to work its way to Nashville, Tennessee, where it will get bumped up strength of the first storm. Now let's see what's happening in the PNW. There's a storm rolling in. It's going to start its way in Forks and Bellingham, moving its way up to the last few inches of snow, and it's work its way down here in Kennewick. In Kennewick, we are looking at here a height of 46 degrees and a low of 31 degrees, and an average temperature of 37 degrees. This week, there's a low chance of precipitation, but in the following weeks, there's going to be a likelihood of a white Christmas. And that's the weather here in Kennewick, and that's going to be the latest forecast. Now a movie review with Alex.
Thanks, Kyle. Ghostbusters Afterlife is the latest movie in the Ghostbusters series and stars McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard. The movie is about Phoebe and Trevor who move to their grandparents' old house out in the middle of nowhere and discover cool ghost-busting gadgets and gear. They team up with their teacher and a conspiracy-obsessed sussy imposter from Among Us class to take down ghosts in their new town. The movie was fantastic, the acting was great, and the plot was easy to follow, and it's definitely worth it.
So if anyone has ever played an indie horror game, then Poppy Playtime is one of those games that you should play on Microsoft PC. Poppy Playtime starts off with the player seeing the description saying that you, the player main antagonist, is an ex-employee is a Playtime company who returns to the factory after 10 years when your other co-workers within the factory has disappeared. As the player begins the first chapter, they see that they are inside a long, old, abandoned factory that has a mascot character that the player will find out the name for the mascot is known as Huggy Wuggy, that was made in 1984 by the founder Elliot Ludwig, who has created most of the company's greatest feats. Where he created other mascots of the factory such as Huggy Wuggy, Kissy Missy, Brawn, Candy Cat, Cat Bee, Boogie Bot, and Poppy Playtime. Players find out that the lovable mascots aren't as lovable at all, but instead are toys of nightmares that will try and kill you the second chance they get. Only one chapter is out, but other chapters are still being made, so players better stay tuned for more of the game to be shown.
Allie, a rescue dog who ran away from her owner and swam across the Ohio River from Evansville, Indiana to Henderson County, Kentucky, is now adopted. When Allie first ran away from her then-owner's home, she ran to the Ohio River and spent hours swimming across. While she was in the river, the authorities tried to rescue her, but she refused to get close. Thankfully, Allie made it across to Kentucky, but she immediately ran into the woods. For a long time, she would run from anyone who got close, until she was finally leashed, and she was then placed in a Mishville Phillips care. Though Phillips was only supposed to spend a few months training Allie, she quickly bonded with the pup and formally adopted her earlier this month. And we will return then with Evan's sports report right after these messages.
We have some breaking news from Tampa of a story about Antonio Brown, the Buccaneers wide receiver who's injured, not playing right now, but possibly using a fake vaccine card. We have been informed from the National Football League for Antonio Brown, Mike Edwards, and for a guy named John Franklin, who used to report for the Buccaneers. Tell us the story here, Alex.
You know the main news here. Antonio Brown, the receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has alleged to use a fake vaccination card by his personal chief of charge, which he disputed through his lawyer. He was done to have done exactly this, and according to the NFL release, which just came, Antonio Brown was suspended for 3 games. Mike Edwards, also with the Buccaneers, suspended 3 games as well as the NFL, said in this statement. The allegations have found that these 3 players who have mentioned right at the top did in fact violate NFL and NALPA protocols. In other words, Antonio Brown did in fact misrepresent his status as a vaccinated player, did in fact use a fake vaccination card in this statement. Again, from the NFL and the NFLPA to the health and safety of players and personnel is our top priority.
The protocols were here jointly developed, and the 2 sides are working together. They're committed in reinforcing the protocols. Obliviously, Antonio Brown, who is, as you mentioned, out, probably 2 games with an ankle injury anyway, we have found to have violated those protocols and now have been penalized for it.
All right, so the bar has been set. A fake vaccination card right now. The precedent is 2-game suspension. The one broken Antonio Brown, and they've dove in evidently here to the Bucs in their status. So we know if their league is looking at each other, 3 teams and conducting in similar investigations.
What we know right now is that the Bucs specifically have found guilty 32 players, and 1 former Buck were found guilty of violating the NFLPA protocols. We know that the league has looked into and verified the vaccination status of the players from some of the other teams.
And obviously, it's on the teams themselves to really do the verification process. The only thing we know right now is that 2 current members of the Bucs and 1 former member have been disciplined. Anything else I would say is up in the air right now.
All right, so here we go. The precedent is a 2-game suspension, at least for now. Maybe this is a warning to everyone else.
3,
3 game suspension for a fake vaccination card, and that's sports. And now more news.
Inscriptions is a game about a card game. I know that sounds weird, but you have these characters that fight for you. The cards do a different amount of damage, and you try to get 7 damage on the other person, and that's how you win. But here's the catch. The other person, which name is a lucky carder that you encounter that plays many extremely overpowered cards that could instantly kill you. Your job is to get 7 before he wipes your team, or he gets the 7. Throughout this game, you'll also find puzzles hidden in the cabin, which if you solve correctly, you'll then get a card that can help you on your way. When you reach the end of the first path, you'll happen upon this tape that shows a guy named Luke running through a forest and finding a cabin.
One of the best gifts for this season is Robot for kids who love computers. The world is run by computers, and there are more and more careers available for those with programming skills. So if you have kids or young relatives, a coding toy is a brilliant way to give them a leg up. It can also teach them how to think like a computer through play. So if they decide to learn to code in the future, they will already have the foundations in place. We'll wrap things up right after this. Let's say you're in your local market getting groceries. Your friend interrupts your daily shopping and he wants you to see what he has. You reject his offer and go along with your groceries. While checking out, your friend pulls out his handgun and shows you it, in front of everyone. And this sounds like a strange yet dangerous situation to be in, but 29-year-old Nicholas Ellingfors thought otherwise. Last September, he brought his non-licensed handgun to the checkout line to show his friend. Though, as he was putting the gun back in the front of his pants near the zipper, he accidentally pulled the trigger, police say. A bullet went through his groin area and out the lower thigh of his leg, narrowly missing his artery. This is the man who has committed such an awkward day but avoided getting anything on camera, luckily. It just shows us that we should never show a friend an unlicensed handgun in a public area, or any area in this scenario.
And finally, the highlight of this show that we've all been waiting for. It is confirmed that Mr. Greif is dropping an album sometime this January. The late rapper tweeted about it only hours ago, declaring he is about to change up the game with his upcoming album, Greif is Life. We reached out to his managing team, and they stated his album is absolutely fire. This album will feature Snoop Dogg and Eminem.
And that's our show!
Thanks for watching.